Hello, geometry students. In this lesson, writing the equation of circles, circle equations, it might be kind of a long video because, well, there's a lot here. If you look at this, this should look familiar. This is the equation of a circle. And it should look similar to, because it is a squared plus b squared equals hypotenuse squared. This actually comes from the Pythagorean theorem. And it makes sense if you think about it, because what you have, if you have a center of a circle, all the points that are the same distance from the center constitute the circle, that distance being the radius. Well, the radius is actually a hypotenuse of a right angle. This distance is A, this distance is B. That's x comma y. It's true for any circle. So for example, if your radius were here, then you have A and B. If your radius is down here, then you have A and B. So it's all possible combinations of x comma y that are the radius distance from the center. If you look at the formula, you've got h and k, and then you've also got the radius. H and k are actually going to be the center of the circle, but make sure you actually change the signs because it's x minus h. This x minus h is actually a distance between the center and the x coordinate. So with that in mind, this says find the center and the radius of the circle. So to find the center, you basically change the h, change the x, and change the y. I will say change the x, change the y. The center of this circle is -3, +1. Now the radius, this is a squared plus b squared equals radius squared. So you must take the square root of this. You will never see the actual radius in the equation. It will always be the square because it is something squared plus something squared equals something squared. So this circle is centered at -3, +1, and has a radius of square root of 25. This circle is centered at 0, -5, has a radius of the square root of 49. So the circle is the number that's with the x, which is a 0, the number that's with the y, which is a 5, center of this circle. Change the x, change the y, and the radius is the square root. Don't forget to take the square root regardless of what it is. The center is change the x, +2, change the y, and then don't forget to take the square root, whatever the square root of 72 is. It's going to be 8 point something. 8.49. We'll call it 8.49. And I am getting a decimal approximation because that's what makes sense. It's actually a distance. So more of the same. Change the x, change the y. Find the center and the radius. Well, the center is change the x, change the y. The radius is don't forget to take the square root. If you don't have an x or a y, then it's understood to be a 0. This is actually supposed to be the easiest one, but a lot of times students get confused. If they're looking for a number in parentheses, if they don't see one, well, it's understood to be 0. So this is actually supposed to be the easiest one. It's a circle centered at 0, 0, having a radius of 25. It's also easy to graph. How about this one? Change the x, change the y, don't forget to take the square root. -11, 0, and the radius is whatever the square root of 324 is, which I think might be 18. Yep. So this circle is centered at negative 11, 0, has a radius of 18. Easy to do, just change the x, change the y, don't forget to take the square root. What if you're going the other direction? Write the equation of a circle with the following. I've got a center of x comma y, a radius of 12. The formula is something squared plus something squared equals something squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what it is x minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals the radius squared. And you just take your x and your y and your radius and you plug it in. Well, x is 3. Y is negative 6, and the radius is 12. If you write it down that way every time, and then simplify it from there, you should get the right answer every time. X minus 3 squared, y plus 6 squared equals 144. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to check. The center of this circle is change the x, change the y. And the radius is, don't forget to take the square root. So 3, negative 6, 3, negative 6, radius of 12. I must have gotten it right. Something squared plus something squared equals something squared. It will be x minus something squared, y minus something squared equals radius squared. Just find your x, plug it in. Find your y, plug it in. Find the radius. Don't forget to plug it in and square it. And there's your answer. Well, I forgot to plug them in. There's a 7, 0, and 10. That's the answer. I'm going to simplify it, obviously, or clean it up. X minus 7 squared plus y minus 0 squared is just y. You don't need the parentheses, and you don't need the 0. So that's my answer. Here's the answer of the other one. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to check. The center of this circle is change the x, change the y, and the radius is don't forget to take the square root. So 7, 0, and 10. Looks like I did that one right. Write the equation of a circle. It's x minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals something squared. Plug in your x. Plug in your y, plug in your something. X minus a negative 6, y minus 14, 5 squared. That's your answer. I want to clean it up. So it's x plus 6 squared. And, you know, I like to check. The center of the circle that I just created is negative 6, positive 14. And the radius is the square root of 25, which is 5. Well, is that what I wanted? Negative 6, 14, 5. Looks like it is. So I can put a box around it with confidence. Remember the formula. It's x minus something squared, y minus something squared equals something squared. So, plug in your 0, plug in your 0, plug in your 1. This is x squared, which I'm just going to write as x squared. Y minus 0 squared is just y squared. Equals 1 squared is just 1. This is actually called the unit circle. Let me show you why. The unit circle is a circle with a radius of 1 centered at the origin. So there's the center. Your radius equals 1. It's called the unit circle because the radius is a single unit. I get for trying to make it look nice. You won't use the unit circle much now, but you certainly will when you get into trade. What if you have a picture? Well, nothing really changes. I need the center of the circle, I need the radius of the circle, and then I'm going to plug it into x minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals something squared. The Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals hypotenuse squared. Well, I just need to find the center. From the origin, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 1. Side to side, 4, down 1. The center is positive 4, negative 1. I can go ahead and plug those in, but I'm actually going to find the radius. The radius is a little trickier, but not really. All you need to do is count the distance from the center to the edge. There are 4 places on this circle where that's easy to do. I can see that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. It's 4 blocks this way as well. It's 4 blocks this way. It's 4 blocks up. It's actually 4 in any direction. It's just that it's easy to count along the lines. You can't count blocks along a slant, but you can count blocks there. So plug in your x, plug in your y, plug in your radius. X is 4, negative 1, and the radius is also 4. So the answer and you can check this. The center is 4, negative 1. And the radius is square root of 6. Same thing here. Eventually I'm going to say the center is side to side 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4, positive 3. My center is negative 4, positive 3. The radius, just count blocks from the center to the edge. Any place you can do it. Obviously, it's going to be 2. So, need to hurry it up. I see that I'm already past 12 minutes. Can't expect anyone to pay attention for 12 minutes. One more. Now we're going to graph. This is actually fairly easy. The hardest part will be actually drawing the line. The first thing I need to do is find the center. Well, it's change the x, change the y. There's my x coordinate. There's my y coordinate. So just like I was doing in the beginning, change the x. Change the x, change the y, and as long as I'm doing it, don't forget to take the square root. So the center is negative 1, 3. I'm going to graph that. Side to side 1, up 3. Here's my center. And then the hard part is actually drawing your picture. Frankly, it's a lot easier to do this. Draw your circle first, label it negative 1, 3, and make a radius. But if you have grid paper, that's kind of cheating. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to count out 3 from the center. I'm going to go out 3 units this way. Make a little mark. If I could do it up here, I would, but I can only count blocks up and down. So you can see I've actually got 4 different places, and most people when they draw them will have a picture that looks like that. Nothing wrong with that. It's not really a circle, but you get the idea. It's very hard to draw a circle in a prescribed location. Radius of 3. And that's that.